But the biggest one today, perhaps, Election Day has finally arrived in the US, and voters have been showing up early at the polls to cast their ballots to elect the 45th President of the United States of America. Long lines have been seen at polling stations in Virginia, Ohio, as well as New York. Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton has a 5 percentage point lead over Republican Donald Trump in most of the national polls that have been taken. Swing state Florida, with its large Latino population, is considered a must-win for both candidates. Meanwhile, Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and her husband, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, walked out to greet supporters after casting their votes in their hometown in New York State. The long-running U.S. election campaign has been one of the most negative in American history, with each candidate accusing the other of lacking the character, judgment to be president. Well, we cross now live to U.S. correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease, who's in New York for the latest. And Sherwin, you couldn't be in a better place, given one of the nominees is voting in that very city, not very far away from you.
Not very far away from me, but there are millions of people in New York that are voting. We are in Harlem, just outside a polling station, Peter, and I can tell you a steady stream of people here after an election cycle that has lasted something like 18 months. People very happy to vote, people very happy to see the end of this election, and hopefully by early to mid evening to get a sense of who will be the next president of the United States.
Is it too early, or can you tell from, the cues compared to last time, if there's going to be a better turnout at this stage?
Well, it depends on where you are. We have seen a steady stream of people at the polling station here in Harlem. I've been told by people that live in this area that around the corner, just a few blocks away, there are lines that are going around the block. I think you're going to see long lines in swing states, your North Carolinas, your Floridas, your Nevadas. That, of course, the emphasis in this election. You know, you have your bankable blue, you have your bankable red, but it's really going to come down to these swing states and also to the campaigns being able to mobilize their supporters and making sure that they can get to the polls. I think over the last 8 years, the Republicans have learned a few lessons. The Democrats have always had a slight advantage, or a clear advantage rather, in terms of actually mobilizing and getting their supporters to the polls. So I imagine that both campaigns are very well versed in how to do that, but it's all about a numbers game now. The time for persuasion has shifted to a time for mobilization. A very, very important part of this election is actually getting people who support you to go and make an X on the ballot.
So both candidates have cast their votes, not very far apart in terms of time. Was there anything that they've said, both of them, coming out of their voting?
Well, we've heard this conversation with the voters in the swing states over the last couple of days, whether they were crisscrossing from New Hampshire, whether they were crossing to North Carolina, Florida. What you hear from them is that this is an important election, and it's an important election in terms of getting to the votes and making your mark, because people will have a different vision. Candidates have a different vision for this country, and in that sense, it's important for people to go out and make their choice so that they can fulfill the vision that they hope to see in this election. So that was the message from Hillary Clinton. I know Donald Trump has voted a short time ago. We haven't been able to listen to what he said, but really this is now a focus about actually getting people out and getting them to the polling stations, Peter.
Yesterday when we spoke, you talked about the markets. I don't know if the markets are even open today, but are they still sort of pricing in a Clinton victory? Have you got a sense of how business is feeling on such an important day?
Well, after the FBI announcement that they had found no criminality after reopening their investigation into Hillary Clinton, we saw the markets immediately react. Markets were up yesterday. Markets are kind of remaining steady today because they are waiting now for the outcome. There's no speculation. It's now about the voters, waiting to see what the voters decide. But what did happen last week, after the Comey announcement that they were reopening, the markets tanked. And we're seeing them steady. Business clearly wants a Clinton presidency here, and that's certainly not a vote of confidence in the billionaire businessman that has touted his business skills heading into this election.
I know that the voters outside, some of them probably won't say much, but are you getting any kind of chatter in the queues and in the lines about what's important to the people that are voting?
Well, at the polling station we're at in Harlem, there are a lot of grandmas and mamas that are and papas that are voting here, and they've got a lot to say. Voting is very important to black people in this country. Clearly, given the history of the United States, similar to a history that South Africans can relate to. And so I think what you're hearing from them is that this is an election to continue the legacy of Barack Obama. It is another opportunity, as they did in 2008, to make history, to vote for the first woman president. We are in a very partisan part of New York. This is blue country. This is Harlem. It's a majority of black people here. So I imagine that Hillary will sweep this district. You'll have to go to the swing states to speak to really strong supporters of Donald Trump. Your North Carolinas, your Texas, your Kentucky. So very partisan crowd here, and I think Hillary Clinton will do very well in the district where we are right now.
All right, give us a sense of timelines. When do the polls close today? And when do you think we'll start getting some results trickling through?
Well, it depends on which state you're in. Polls will generally opened at 6 this morning. A lot of them are closing at 9 p.m. Of course, there's 6 time zones in the United States. But what you see in the United States is once polls start closing in on the East Coast, you immediately get results in. So we could call this election probably by the time South Africans are getting up tomorrow morning. It'll be about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern time here in New York, and about 5, 6, 7 a.m. Just in time for your breakfast coffee and eggs and bacon, I imagine. Peter?
All right, thank you very much indeed, Sherwin. We're going to be crossing to Sherwin a few times, I'm sure, in the next few hours on our program. So he's our man on the ground there, keeping us up to date. So halfway through the day in the States, people are busy deciding who their next president is going to be. And I know that in one little town, there was a voting that took place at midnight, but there weren't very many people there. I think a total number of 32 votes cast in that little town, and Donald Trump won. But that is so early to decide what's going to happen next.